Hi, you guys. Welcome back to Meaningful Motivations with Tracy Erickson. And of course, if you are new to this channel, welcome. My name is Tracy Erickson, and in today's spooky story, I'm going to be telling you the story about Eleonore Zugun, a 14-year-old teenager in Romania who was allegedly possessed after purchasing a piece of candy using a coin she found in the forest. I'm going to tell you all about it, so stay tuned. This story takes place in Romania in 1925. 14-year-old Eleonore Zugun found an old coin in the woods. And after finding this coin, her grandma actually said to her, "If you spend that coin, may the devil haunt you forever." I just want to take a moment to tell you guys about Tracy's Apothecary. Tracy's Apothecary is my Etsy shop where I'm selling my handmade essential oil and crystal creations. All of the products from Tracy's Apothecary were created in a sacred space and with strong intentions. So if you want to check it out, go to tracysapothecary.etsy.com. Her grandmother's words turned into Eleanor's curse. After she spent the coin on some candy at a candy store, she began to realize that she could have possibly been possessed by the devil himself. And this possession began shortly after the purchase of the candy that was made using that old coin she had found. Shortly after the grandmother's curse, Eleanor and her mother watched as red welts appeared on her arm in the form of scratch marks that looked to have been made by some type of claw, but there was no explanation for these marks to begin appearing on Eleanor's arm. At one point, Eleanor and her mother actually watched while the scratches formed the word Dracu right there on her arm. And Dracu is the Romanian word for devil. In the beginning, it seemed that Dracu, or the devil, was really only affecting Eleanor herself, with the scratches forming upon her arms and sometimes even being formed on her face. But it was shortly after these scratches began to show themselves that other things started to happen as well. So as the intensity of this possession grew and grew, everywhere Eleanor went, paranormal activity would follow. And this paranormal activity would take the form of dishes flying off the shelves or even zipping across the room at high speed. Since Eleanor's possession was not only contained to the home in which she lived in, she actually became one of the most unpopular people in her village in Romania. Because, as I said, everywhere she went, this paranormal activity would follow. And it didn't take long before all of the other people living in this town would begin to close their windows and doors and go inside if they ever saw Eleanor out and about. The paranormal activity got so bad, in fact, that the town priest even tried to perform an exorcism on Eleanor, but it did not work. So, after being out of luck there, the priest suggests that they take Eleanor to an insane asylum. And so, that's what they did. And when Eleanor was sent off to the asylum, all of the other neighbors in the village were able to open their doors and windows once again. They actually rejoiced when this teenage girl was sent off. Poor Eleanore, the devil girl, wasn't very happy about this, because even at the asylum, she continued to experience these paranormal effects that had been going on before she even went there. So, this continued on for some time until finally news of these events reached a particular person. When Australian parapsychologist Countess Zoe Wassilko-Serecki heard of this case, she decided to rescue Eleanore from the asylum. And sadly, just like the villagers, when this countess came to take Eleanore away from the institution, the staff rejoiced that she was finally gone because of all the strange activity that took place while she was there. The countess spent an entire year with Eleanore and observing her, both in her home in Vienna as well as in London, under laboratory settings with the famed paranormal investigator Harry Price. While in London, under the watch of Harry Price, the two actually did more investigation on Eleanor's case, and this took place at the National Laboratory of Psychical Research in London. And the Countess actually ended up recording over 1,700 examples of this paranormal poltergeist activity. And it included one time at her home that nearly killed her. So the Countess was actually quoted telling a reporter, "On the opposite wall hung a stiletto, a long gleaming dagger of steel. And before our eyes, we saw it move, point towards us, and with the speed of a hurricane come whizzing past us. It launched itself without any human help right across the room and plunged into the door near which we had been standing." The tests that took place at the laboratory were highly controlled. Usually, Eleanor's hands and feet were tied, and they would even place netting around the laboratory area so that there could be no possibility of strings being attached to objects to be yanked off shelves. But regardless, it happened anyway. There would be jars flying across the room, coins moving, and just in general, objects were constantly moving around the room in Eleanor's presence. Now, if all of the moving objects wasn't enough to freak everybody out, the investigators also witnessed the markings on her arms once again. So she would start getting markings on her arms, bite marks, scratches, and the like. And they even started forming on her face right before their eyes. One investigator is quoted saying that within 15 minutes, Eleanore looked indeed as if she had been tattooed all over her face and arms. Harry Price and his team at the laboratory concluded that Eleanore was not consciously responsible for the production of those marks, and that under scientific test conditions, movements of small objects without physical contact undoubtedly took place. After acknowledging that the marks on her body, as well as objects moving throughout the room, were not directly related to Eleanore consciously doing these things, and also not related to her physically doing these things either, because they were witnessed by the other investigators. So the best conclusion that they could offer at this time for Eleanor's case was, what has happened to Eleanore is apparently this. During her early childhood, when the so-called poltergeist phenomena became first apparent, the simple peasants threatened her so often with Dracu, the devil, and what he would do to her, that her subconscious mind became obsessed with the idea of whippings, bitings, etc., which the ignorant peasants said would be her lot at the hands or teeth of Dracu. Remove the Dracu complex, and the girl would probably be troubled no further with stigmatic markings. By the time the testing in London was over, Eleanore was now 15 years old, and she was now moving to East Berlin, Germany, to give the German investigators a chance at possibly offering an even better conclusion as to what was going on with Eleanore. But strangely, her move to Germany coincided with the end of the paranormal activities. So it is believed that it is possible that she had reached the age of puberty and therefore kind of outgrew this possession. But it could also just be that literally she was removed from all of these people that have been calling her a devil. In all of my research of poltergeist experiences throughout time, it is very common that poltergeist activity is connected to someone who's very young and also going through a traumatic experience in life, or a lot of times going through the puberty stages of life as well, just because that in itself has a lot of changes that take place in the child's life and in the psyche. So I do believe that Eleanor's problem was due to her age, first of all. So it kind of like created this poltergeist activity that was taking place in her life. But honestly, it all started after her grandmother told her not to spend that coin or else may the devil haunt her. I can't believe her own grandmother would curse a child in such a way. But she spent the coin anyway, and from that moment, she believed that the curse was now put upon her. So not only was she very young and impressionable and possibly going through a lot of life changes, she also had people in her life that were feeding her full of this darkness, that were giving her ideas of the devil and how the devil might haunt her. So it's no wonder that Eleanore attracted such paranormal activity into her experience, most likely through her own thinking, but based on what she had been told from the people around her. Because even as she was trying to move on and go about her day-to-day life, even other people like neighbors and other villagers were calling her the devil girl, all the way to the point where the priest came to try an exorcism and failed. So at that point, she was probably feeling very hopeless, because the one person you would think that can help you if you're possessed by the devil is the priest, right? Honestly, with all of the investigation taking place and the multitude of witnesses in Eleanor's case, it seems like it is true. She was definitely experiencing some type of paranormal activity or some type of poltergeist. But I really do believe that, just like the investigators said in their conclusion, that had the whole Dracu threat been removed from Eleanor's life from the beginning in her earlier years, this may have never even happened to the poor child. I really want to know what you guys think about this one, so tell me down in the comment section down below. Do you believe in Eleonore Zugun's possession or poltergeist? Or do you believe that she was somehow fooling everybody, including investigators, in a very controlled lab setting? Tell me your thoughts so that we can discuss it down below. Well, that about wraps it up for this video. So if you like this video, be sure to click that like button. It's just a free way you can help your girl out. And of course, if you're a viewer but not yet a subscriber, I would just love for you to click subscribe down below. And then once you have subscribed, you can turn on that notifications bell if you would like to be notified each and every time I upload a new video. Thank you guys so much for watching and spending your time with me. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.